And did that do it? There we go. Yeah. See, all right. I'm back. Phew. Man, I think. Am I? Yeah. Oh, there it is. See, I told you. It's again. I'm clearly the target of a Russian troll farm, which I'm quite proud of, because I'm the I'm the well. Unbelievable. So, yeah, it takes nothing, and I get kicked off YouTube again. It'd be one thing if I was one of these like right wingers, you know. Oh, I'm robotic. Hopefully, it's a little better. Hopefully, okay, good. Yeah, I don't know these dips uh in the technology, just part of it. So, the irony. Am I still connected? The audio just went away. You're good, Lady B. We all good. In theory, maybe. Okay, good. You were robotic. How about that? Okay, good on YouTube. So that's all that matters. All right. So, there's two ways, other ways besides ginning up your base, which is, by the way, the low hanging fruit of what you should be able to do. That there are, in articulating your message and your philosophy to your base, and that you are an effective shepherd of their political will. There's two ways to do that. Show them what you did for them already, and tell them what you're going to do for them. And the B side of both of those is tell them what the other side was trying to stop you from doing, and you did anyways. That makes you even more of a hero. Same action, you get double credit. And show them what the other side is going to do and how you're going to stop them, and you get double credit for that. This is the effectively a the primary strategy when you're talking to this, and talking to your base. The other strategy when you're the other two possible strategies are disenfranchise and make the other side either feel they have nothing to fear from you. That's the hardest part. Or feel that they are that there is no point in them fighting your base. You basically say there's more of us than there are of you, and we've got this covered, and there's our voters going to be there, so there's no reason to show up at the polls at all. Plus, you kind of like what I'm doing for you anyways. You just don't want to tell anybody that message. That message is more rare these days. It happens on the local level. Happens with a lot of mayors, not so much, and the occasional, John Kasich kind of governor, the occasional Nikki Haley, as it were. But the third one is failing those two things, failing those two other options working for you. The old-fashioned 1800s, the 19th century methodology of just don't let them vote. That's when all else has failed. Just don't let them vote. Run them off. Through violence, intimidation, confusion, erasure, removing, and there are three basic, strategy points to do that. One is make voting too materially difficult. This is the most legal and the easiest to get away with. Just make it inconvenient. A little bit of poll shuffling, not enough machines. Send some machines, but send, we sent 8 to every district. We sent 6 that we knew were broken to the largely African American district, or where we know the area's majority Hispanic, or the neighborhood. That we made sure that of the 8 machines we sent them, because we send 8 to everybody, we know the ones that will break down because they all had to pass a test. The ones in the lower 60% of resiliency, we'll send those to the neighborhoods. So eventually, over the course of the day, they may all work for an hour or two, but the rest of the day they'll stop working and squeeze that line, and that's when people have to get out of work, go across town, when their boss hasn't given them half a day, like they're supposed to be able to go vote, or it's after school and they wanted to vote while their kids were at school so that they didn't have to get childcare around that. That's how you diminish the woman vote. And we'll talk a little bit about the whole 51% of white women zone voting for Donald Trump, and the fact that number is padded by wealthy white women, and that those people have childcare or someone who could look after their children while they go vote, and poor white women were denied that ability. That's also an ongoing thing. But the making it uncomfortable, making it as difficult and confusing, the process in and of itself, knowing when you're registered and how you're registered, what what your neighborhood polling place is, if you go to the wrong one. Then you start with the shenanigans around and I think the scariest part of it is wiping people off the voter rolls. This is what Kemp is accused of doing in Georgia. It seems to be every evidence that is exactly what he did as Secretary of State, and is what he's doing as Secretary of State while he runs for governor, which, by the way, needs to be a law that if you are Secretary of State, you have to hand off the election. If you're running for any higher office, you have to hand that off to a nonpartisan articulated body, either a city council member, an independent, what have you, a board to certify those things. And one of our chatters, Deported Village Idiot, said, how'd you read about Dodge City in Kansas? They moved the polling place out of town so the minorities can't get to it. Yeah, the idea is that they anybody who uses public transport is too poor to vote. That's the strategy. So that falls, by the way, inside through just make it difficult. Stripping people of their legal voter status using, highly questionable methodologies to say, well, there's a Juan Gonzalez who's in jail for murder, so every Juan Gonzalez in this area, we'll just assume that's the one that went to jail, even if their middle initial or their middle name is different, and just swipe them out. And if they're real, they'll re-register, even though they don't have any reason to believe that they're not registered anymore. The other thing is that's the baseline. Just strip their ability. You've already registered. You've gone through the act. You've said, as a voter, as a citizen, this matters to me. I'm going to register, and I'm going to make sure I'm registered. I'm going to re-register every 2 years just to make sure my address and everything is up to date. I'm going to do everything necessary. And then you show up at the polling place and you're not on the list. Because the Secretary of State, who is running for governor, knows you're not going to vote for him and purged your registration. That is the fallback strategy of, low-end potentates in southern states that the Voting Rights Act was meant to curtail. And the elimination of the Voting Rights Act was meant to allow again. There is a direct line from the Supreme Court getting rid of the Voting Rights Act under this idea that we live in a post-racial society, we've had a black president, and so no longer do we have to worry about southern states stealing votes or denying people the right to vote. And what happened when it went away? That's what happened. I went robotic. That's what happened. The important thing is that, and I think the internet's a little wonky right now. Well, hopefully I'm not too robotic, Lady B. Better? Okay, good. The audio on YouTube is always just fine, so we can always fall back to that. The problem with the current Republican front line of politicians is, quite frankly, that what used to be the racist, we dare not talk about this methodology, the stealing votes, eliminating people's registrations, stripping people from the polls, beyond even the voter ID stuff. It doesn't matter if you have an ID when you show up and you're not registered to vote in a state where registration ended weeks ago. Yeah, and Lisa Ann and our Greg Palast, if you don't follow him on Twitter, you need to, even if it's just to find out if you're still registered to vote. He said that 14 million people have been purged between 2014 and 2016. It's a tenth of eligible voters. This is not an accident, and it will continue to happen. It will continue to happen until such time as we pass a law like the one I talked about last week, where if you interfere with someone's ability to vote, either physically in person or through the manipulation of the voter rolls, stripping them, wanting either willfully, wantonly, or with wanton disregard, if you interfere with their ability to vote, $10,000 fine, 5 years in jail per count. If that was in place, I don't think these guys would risk it as wantonly as they do. But Kemp clearly would be serving multiple life sentences right now, and his kids' would owe money on his fines. We'll be back. And I'm going to take those callers after we get back. Hopefully I'm not too robotic for the calls. Yep, sometimes it's just miracle, and sometimes it's just blues. We're going to talk about Beto as we have to go fold laundry. This administration is disgraceful. Slow down, Charleston. You got time to type. Did you guys enjoy my my little libertarian bear poke yesterday? That was hilarious. Let's see. Yeah, well, yeah, I just poke the bear sometimes. I've decided to do more of what I call like beehive tweets, which are just like smack the beehive. Just to get a conversation, and also to help me shake out the trolls that are in there that, quite frankly, I don't find to be a credible source. You know, and you can really spot them. Saw the drive video. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna do more of those, Amos. What do you think? It's a kind of a new thing. Since I'm always driving, I'm like, I just need to. Okay, great. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to those videos when you see them. Or like and thumbs up them or what have you. Smack the Beehive is my favorite class. Our lingering troll weighed in on the nice versus kind video. Oh, there you go. Okay. How'd you see the video of the Proud Boys heckling Nancy Pelosi, Florida? Check it out. It's not for playing on the air. Yes, I did see it. I was obviously about you driving while making the videos. Be safe. Yeah, I'm not talking. It's like talking to a passenger. She is. That's right. She's fading out. Doris is on every Saturday. She's on right before the show. Don't forget. Yeah, don't forget to like the show today. Thank you on Twitter, even though we came in late, and I apologize for that. And thank you guys for sticking with me. I'm posting more new short form videos on my YouTube page starting. I've already started this week. They'll be popping up regularly. For those of you that don't stick with us for the whole show or listen to this show like a podcast, which I completely love. Yeah, let's take a caller because I think we got a couple. We got a few minutes left in the show, and then I've literally got to bolt out the door to get down there in time for Politicon. Who do we have, Lady B? Cool. Hey, Mark, welcome. I'm good. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Oh, it wasn't Robert Downey. It was Robert Davi. It wasn't Robert Downey Jr., just to be clear. Robert Davi. Yeah, but still. Yeah. Yes. I know. Yes. Oh, my God. I would, and at that time it was funny because I've seen Robert since because I did a movie with him, and I was like, Robert, I love you, man, but you need to go YouTube a video about Olga of Kiev. And if you don't know, the short version of it is Olga of Kiev was the queen of one of what became later part of the Russian territories. Her husband she had a son with him. He was going to be the leader. Her husband goes to trade with another country. They kill him because he's being a jerk. And they say, we're going to force you to marry one of our princes, and we're going to take over your country. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. Go look up, everybody. Go look up what Olga of Kiev did, and then tell me that women can't be the strongest possible wolf at the front of your pack of dogs, fighting for, your country. This woman was capable of things that men everywhere would go, oof, that's rough. So the idea that it's somehow based on weakness or fear against, some sort of outsider is childish. But I think, again, it wasn't so much about him as me just kind of pointing out that there's a big swath of the public, and they're not all men, who believe that. Where I don't think they qualify as misogynists. They don't believe that women are weak or awful. I think they would go to a woman doctor. I think they wouldn't mind if there was a woman pilot. I think they're fine with that, but they have this hitch around this daddy figure authority thing, and all of those people, no matter what they've done in the past voting-wise, all of those people clamor for Donald Trump. They are the best indicator of what a Trump sycophant, a Trump voter is. That's that person. So, yeah. Yeah, appreciate it. Absolutely. Let's grab one more caller because I know we have somebody else, and since we didn't go robotic and it actually worked. Yeah. Or did it and you're just laughing at me because it was I understand. Hey, Alan, welcome to the show. Go ahead. How do you mean we didn't do anything in Benghazi? I mean, because ultimately there's a difference between hired fighters by the government of a country, in the case of Saudi Arabia, and in Benghazi, it was not, regardless of whether you believe the sort of right-wing talking point that it was, that there was a stand-down order and what have you, or you believe that it was caused by a video or a mixture of the two or any of that stuff. It wasn't a state-sponsored group that came after them. It was more like an ISIS, Al-Qaeda group who did the attack. And I think there's a strategic difference between the two. I think in the way you handle Benghazi, first of all, you don't make that look like it is the end of your Middle Eastern strategy. You don't cower in fear in the face of it and say that because ISIS is spread out through a bunch of countries, that means we're surrounded, democracy is a failure in the Middle East, that people there don't want to be able to pick their own leaders. Like, you don't fall back from that based on that attack. Because it is a side group with a very specific political bent. It is the equivalent of, I think the close equivalent would be like an IRA bombing versus an Irish government-sanctioned fight. You know what I mean? There may be some strategies between the two, but that does not mean it was a directed attack. The difference with Saudi Arabia is this was the specific murder of a journalist who was uncovering details about the Saudi family and the Saudi rule, and they did away with him. So there's two elements of this. One is the Benghazi thing has more to do with our military interaction in another country, and it is murky due to that. On principle, though, the Saudi murder of Jamal Khashoggi is a principled attack on the ideals of that the United States holds dear: freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and certainly a freedom against extrajudicial dismemberment. And it also makes a difference between an attack on an external attack on our where our ambassador was, our consulate, and a consulate being turned into a kill box. So I find them, I would say that they're extraordinarily different. That being said, for all the talk that the Republicans believe that that there was a stand-down order, that Hillary Clinton somehow wanted the ambassador to die, and like the conspiracy theories around that, which after hours and hours of public testimony and multiple investigations, never found any of that to be the case. The President of the United States is buying the story from the Saudis that he was killed in a fist fight, but his body left there in chunks after the fist fight, and is effectively calling for our, the FBI through the DOJ to stand down and not interfere with our the sales of $180 billion worth of weapons. So yeah, there's a lot of intrinsic differences to it. But so much as to say that had Jamal Khashoggi been killed in the Saudi Arabian consulate in an attack by Turkish nationals during one of the uprisings that had gone on, and we had found out that his death was actually not caused by anybody outside storming the place, but they had taken advantage of the chaos and killed him. It would affect, it would certainly affect our relations with Saudi Arabia. Here's the issue. Is any journalist safe to set foot on Saudi soil now? That's the biggest issue. That technically that consulate is Saudi soil. So, you know, you are you have to know that it's not safe for any journalist on Saudi soil right now. There is no reason to believe that if you are critical of the Saudi Arabian government, you will survive being in any landmass or space they control. That's the concern. I got to race off to Politicon. Thank you guys so much. I'll be streaming from there. Thank you, Lady B. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in. Tech issues aside, you guys are wonderful. I'll see you next week. Thanks so much, Lady B. Bye. And chat room, I'm going to stick with you for just a split second because I can. I don't have to put my buds in at this point. Do you guys think that guy was kind of trying to troll? Do you think that? I felt like that's what he was doing. I felt like there was kind of a trolling thing going on there. Just me? No? Maybe? It's a tough one. Someone said yesterday that the gun sale to Saudi is more like 14 billion than no sale. It's 148, I think, over time is the point. And by the way, most of the stuff that's been sold to the Saudis in terms of defensive weapons, which is the bigger part of the sale, by the way, was authorized by the Obama administration. It's been sitting there for a long time. Like those deals have been on the books. Most of Trump's stuff that he got, even from his big shindig, making his first visit ever to a foreign country, to Saudi Arabia, that move on his part, he came back with a bunch of like memos saying that he would, that they're gonna, buy some stuff later. There was no deal, and in him holding up that friggin' picture, and basically making, murder by sever, MBS, making him hold it like a human easel, which was kind of funny. Favorite Troll Bill commented on that driving video this week. Okay, well, I'll look at it. Couldn't hear the caller? Okay, that's good to know. I don't know why that would be, but, yeah. Well, thanks very much. Yeah, this is the new, like holding it together, finally getting some chest. I'll flash you guys at Politicon. How about that? I got to race off. You guys are awesome. Take care, and I'll see you next time. And if you're around, I will try and do some stuff from Politicon. So, yeah. Anyways, all right.